All right, we're back. We're at lesson 19 today, page 113. In your application problem, we're going to do this one together. It's kind of tough, and Mrs. Nutter's going to read it. It's a long one. Go ahead, Mrs. Nutter.
Thomas has 2 sheets of paper. He wants to punch 4 equally spaced holes along the edge of each sheet. Draw Thomas's 2 sheets of paper next to each other so the ends meet. Okay.
So your 2 sheets of paper are going to look like this.
Good.
Okay.
Now label a number line from 0 at the start of his first paper to 2 at the end of his second paper. Show Thomas where to hole punch his papers and label the fractions. So remember, he wants to punch 4 equally spaced holes. Okay. So show where to hole punch his papers and label the fractions. And then what fraction is labeled at the 8th hole.
Okay. All right. So let's start drawing the holes. So we're going to have 4 holes. So if we have 4 holes, we're going to break it into fifths, basically, is what we're doing. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nope. Yep.
5 holes, right?
Nope, 4 holes.
Oh, 4 holes. Okay, I did it right.
5 spaces.
Yeah,
Yep.
Let's move this one over just a little bit. So it's going to look like that. And then, of course, the second sheet will be the same. So you got 4 holes, but basically you have fifths. And then we're talking the space in between is fifths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So when we label our number line, we're going to use, for 0, it is 0 fifths.
So the holes are basically just like a line on the number
Yes,
line.
they are. So this
Yep.
one would be, make a line there for it, would be 1/5.
Yep.
This line, 2 fifths. 3 fifths. 4 fifths. And now we're at 1, so this one's going to be 5 fifths. 6 fifths, 7 fifths, 8 fifths, 9 fifths, and 10 fifths.
Great. Now, what fraction is labeled at the 8th hole? So you need to count the 8th hole above and tell me which fraction matches up with that. What would it be? 9
9 fifths.
fifths.
Yep. So that 8th hole is 9 fifths. Kind of a tricky problem.
Yep.
That's why we did it together.
But we matched it up with a number line, so that helped.
All right, we're going to get right started with our assignment today. It's very similar to yesterday's, so turn to this page. We've got a lot of greater than, less than at the bottom. So number 1 says divide each number line into the given fractional units. Then place the fractions. Okay? And write the whole as fractions. All right, let's do the first one together. So we're going to break it into halves. We're starting at 0. We're going to 3. 1, 2. All right. So if we're going to break them into halves, okay, going to go there, going to go there, going to go there. They want you to label the whole numbers. So since we're halves, 2 would be our bottom number. At 1 would be 2 halves, 4 halves, and 6 halves. All right, so they wanted you to label those. And now we need to find out where 3 halves is going to be. That's our first choice. 3 halves. Okay, well, two halves are right there. 3 halves would be right there between 2 and 4 halves.
And then 5 halves.
5 halves is our next one. Same concept. We got 4, so this one would be 5 halves.
And 4 halves.
4 halves.
Which you already
Already have
have.
that? So right there. If you want to go ahead and label this one, you can do it. Don't have to though. So that's how we did number 1. Now you're going to do B on your own, and they've got your number line going from 0 to 3.
And cutting it into fourths.
this is what they have for you. Make sure to add 1 and 2. And then you're going to be breaking them into fourths. So that one would be 0 fourths. Break them into fourths, and then you need to find 9 fourths, 11 fourths,
and 6 fourths. 11 fourths. 11 fourths.
Whoops, messed up there. So go ahead and make your number line and find those fractions.
Pause and do it on your own.
All right, hopefully, again, if we're doing fourths, I like to break it in half, and then half of a half would be a fourth. Half. All right, so I got those broken into fourths. I'm gonna go ahead and label my whole numbers. 1 would be 4 fourths, 8 fourths, and 12 fourths. Remember your reminder on how to do that. 3 times 4 is 12. So we need to find 9 fourths is our first one. So I go to 8 fourths, I'm gonna go 1 right next door, 9 fourths. We got 11 fourths, gonna keep going. 8, 9, 10, 11 fourths. And our last one, 6 fourths. Well, I got 4 fourths, 5 fourths, and there would be our 6 fourths. So we found all of those on the number line. Didn't have to label the rest. If you want to, go ahead and do it.
That's pretty fun.
That is pretty fun. Now, we're moving on to the eighths. So letter C, we're gonna go to eighths. I'm gonna go ahead and leave my number line up there with fourths, because half of a fourth would be an eighth. So in between each, in between each dash or mark, I'm going to put another one. And then I'll end up having eighths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Can you make
Here's
your
my whole
whole line, darker? There you go.
All right. I need to go ahead and put marks in between my fourths again. Make that a little darker. And then lines in between my fourths. So now I have eighths. So there I've got my eighths. That's maybe an easier way to do it. Go ahead and find
24 eighths.
24 eighths.
19 eighths. And 16 eighths.
So go ahead and find those on your number line.
Cheryl?
Yes? Yes?
Hey, I got something in the mail from Pearson saying that your workbook's not print for reading. Says,
I'll be down in a minute.
all right.
Thank you. What for reading?
What's wrong with our reading? Anyway, all right. So let's label our wholes. So this would be 8 eighths, 16 eighths, and 24 eighths. And our first one we needed to find was 24 eighths right there. So that is 3. 19 eighths, well on at 16, 17, 18, 19. It's right there. And then 16 eighths, again, already had it up there. So that's where those would be located on the number line. So now you're going to use the number lines that we just drew to answer our greater than, less than. So for number 2, it looks like there's 9 greater than, less than, or equal to problems. It says use the number line above to compare the following fractions. So you're going to compare 6 fourths to 9 fourths.
So you're using
Using your number lines from above.
B for that one.
Okay. And 9 fourths would be more than 6 fourths. Let's do the one right next to it. 3 halves.
Using this number line.
And 5 halves. All right. So go ahead and answer it. And of course, 5 halves is larger. The next one, 19 eighths and 16 eighths. All right, look at your number line. Well, we look at this one. 19 eighths is larger. It's farther from 0. And it's pretty easy when your bottom number is the same. All you need to do is really compare the top number. That's if your denominator is the same, like 8s and 4s and 2s. So the first three have been pretty easy so far.
Next is 16/8
Woo.
compared to 3 halves.
That's where you're gonna have to look at two number lines. You're gonna look at your 8ths number line, and then your number line above on your page where 3 halves occurs to get the answer. So that would be 8. So 16/8 is larger. Would you agree, Mrs.
I
Snow?
would agree.
Great. I'm gonna hold my book, that way I can do a better job of seeing the
9/4
9/4,
and 19/8.
19/8. Okay, so 9/4, 19/8.
So use your 4ths number line and your 8ths number line.
And 19/8 would be larger. Can't just look at the top numbers though on this because our bottom numbers, our denominators are different. All right, that last one in that row, Mrs. Nutter, what do you got?
4 halves and 16/8.
So we've got 4 halves, 16/8. First one of these, they're gonna be equal. All right, they're both located at 2. So that means those are equal. All right, bottom left, Mrs. Nutter.
6/4, 16/8.
All right, 6/4, 16/8. 16/8 is larger.
5 halves, 9/4.
5 halves and 9/4.
Compare your number lines.
This one's bigger, just by a little bit, but it's bigger. And the last one.
24/8 and 11/4.
You got 24/8 and 11/4. Look at your number line. And 24/8 is larger.
Great.
Pretty good there. The next problem.
Number 3.
Good. Number 3.
Choose a greater than comparison you made in problem 2. Use pictures, numbers, and words to explain how you made that comparison.
All right.
You're going to choose one of the greater than from down here. So like 5 halves was greater than 9/4.
Okay. So you're going to do that. You're going to pick that one. Then you're going to go ahead and make a number line showing
Proving that 5 halves
there you go.
is greater than 9/4. You can do 2 number lines if you need to, but you could do it on the same.
Let's start at 2, go to 3. Okay. So halves, this would be 4 halves. 5 halves, so I've got that one there. Now I need to find 9/4. So this would be, so 2 would be 8/4. I'm gonna write it down here. Okay, so 2 is 8/4. It's also 4 halves. Then
Cut it into 4.
we're going, a half of a half would be a 4th, so this would be 9/4. All right, so which one's larger? Our 5 halves is farther away than 9/4, farther away from 0. Okay, so that's why that was true. All right.
Good.
Number 4 says choose a less than comparison and do the same thing on a number line. Which one do you want to choose, Mrs. Nutter? How about 6/4? That looks like an easy one. So we got 6/4 and 9/4. All right. Start at 1, where I know it is 4/4. Let's go like 2, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4, and here's our 9/4. So that is showing on the number line that 9/4 is farther away from 0, then 6/4.
And number
Number
5
they want
is
an equal one. What was our equal one? 4 halves?
4 halves and 16/8.
All right. We'll just use this number line. So we already got our 4 halves. And we should know that 16/8 is 2. You want to break it up into,
Well, we know that because 8 times
Yep.
2 is 16.
yep. All right, let's look at your exit ticket today. It says divide the number line into the given fraction unit, then place the fractions, write the whole as a fraction. So you need to write your wholes above, and we're doing fourths. So of course above your 0 is going to be 0/4. Above your 1 is going to be 4/4. Then break your number line into fourths and find 2/4, 10/4, and 7/4. Number 2, you're going to use the number line above to compare greater than, less than, or equal to on those problems. And then also number 3, use the number line from problem 1, which is larger. 2 wholes, so is 2 wholes or 9/4. Which one is larger? Use words, pictures, numbers to explain your answer. Good luck. Hope to see you soon.
Have a good day.